A flight is only as safe as the decisions behind it, and today's operation didn't go as planned, and that's exactly the point. In today's video, we were faced with weather deviations, aircraft changes, route changes, and new plans, all while highlighting the kind of decisions that pilots make every single day, and what factors they consider that you might have never thought of. I hope you enjoy. My name is David Yankov. I'm a commercial student pilot in Ireland on my path to becoming an airline pilot in 2026, and I'd like to take you along on this journey of mine. Here's where today's flight was meant to take us. Early morning departure out of Waterford to Cork. Land, park, secure that aircraft, swap it for another aircraft, and ferry that one back to Waterford. Arriving at the airport, I had my flight briefed, planned, and I was fully ready to execute it. But we were met with a change, the first of many. The aircraft we were meant to pick up was only going to be available from 12, which is approximately 3 hours later than we initially planned. So with that in mind, new route, new alternates, new flight plan, new weather and route, but the same goal, which is ultimately to safely operate the flight and bring the new aircraft back to Waterford. We departed Waterford on a northeasterly heading, and then turned to the west to head towards Shannon. The new plan was simple: head to Shannon Airport, perform a touch and go there, route to Cork, and by the time we get there, the other aircraft should already be available. This decision wasn't rocket science, but let me explain to you why choice of route is so important for pilots. You see, flying in a straight line from A to B is ultimately what we all want, but this isn't always possible. But why? For example, terrain is super scenic. I mean, flying past mountaintops looks extremely cool, and it's extremely nice. Well, that's until your one and only engine fails and it no longer becomes so cool. You see, route planning involves a constant afterthought of what would I do in the worst case scenario, especially when you're flying a single engine aircraft. If you're over water, well, will I make it a land? If I'm flying over high terrain, will I find a safe space to execute an emergency landing, or will I need to land in a valley? So this is why creating intermediate waypoints in your route around these, so to say, danger areas is sometimes necessary. Implementing this thought process early in your aviation career makes you a more aware pilot, one who considers options and makes as many decisions on the ground as he or she reasonably can and shows real commercial pilot skills. But let's get back to the flight.
Just making a final amendment for max altitude be 4,500 en route to Shannon.
After 64 kilo, roger.
So we're on the way to Shannon. And right now, I'm talking to the Shannon Information Air Traffic Controllers. The way you can think of them are like traffic radio stations, but just for pilots. They're not telling me what to do, they're just giving me useful information, like weather at airports, nearby traffic, and anything I should generally be aware of. And I'm still fully responsible for flying the airplane, and because they are helping us, we do the same by providing any valuable information to changes of what we're planning on doing to our flight plan.
After 64 kilo traffic information, traffic on your 12 o'clock, opposite direction, 14 miles at 1,800 feet.
That's copy, that's 64 kilo.
As I get closer to Shannon Airport, you'll hear me get handed off to a different controller. This process is totally normal. Imagine it this way. You're on a road trip, and you're driving down a road, and you're switching from a national traffic radio to the local traffic radio of the next city that you're driving to. This one updates you about the details specific to the city that you're about to enter.
Shannon approach 121.4, bye-bye.
121.4, after 60 kilo, please 5.4, route to Shannon,
After 64 kilo, good afternoon, Shannon approach, radar contact clear. Zone 4,500 feet or below, unit 098 degree hectopascal.
Unit 098 we will place for the zone 4,500 feet or below, and we final descending now to 3,000 feet per kilo.
After 64 kilo, roger, clear in 3,000 feet or below.
3,000 or below after 64 kilo.
Guys in Shannon Approach are just like air traffic managers. They're organizing all the traffic coming in, making sure everybody descends safely, stays separated, and arrives in the right order required. Imagine it this way. You have a police officer at a junction, and the traffic lights are not working. The police officer waves to a couple vehicles to allow them to continue driving. To some vehicles, he might signal them to stop, and to others, he may route them into a different direction. This is exactly and similar to what Shannon approach controllers do when they're bringing air traffic into Shannon Airport. And finally, once I'm close to landing, I'll be talking to the tower.
64 Kilo, we're approaching Bonamati at 1,200 feet. Observation final runway 24, report from the final rapid 64 Kilo.
The tower controls the runway itself. They decide who lands, when they land, and make sure only one aircraft is using the runway at a time. So even though in this whole process you hear a lot of voices, it's all one smooth system, like an orchestra, just different people helping at different stages of your flight.
24, clear touch and go after departure. Left hand turn out towards Cork, at about 2,000 people on the zone after 64 Kilo, thank you.
And as a side note, if you made it this far and you enjoy these types of videos, feel free to provide me with any type of feedback you have in the comments. I do really read all of them, and they help me get an idea of what you're interested in. Overhead Charleville, en route to Cork, Cork approach controllers instructed us to route via Fermoy, Watergrass Hill, and Dunkettle, which to some seems like a completely unnecessary change as we could have just went straight to the runway. But this right here was indeed required to delay our arrival and allow other commercial aircraft, which are significantly faster than we are, to land or depart in the meantime, and therefore separate us from each other. Once again, going back to the traffic manager responsibilities of the approach controllers. Overhead Watergrass Hill, we get told to route via Dunkettle, thereafter Cargo Line. These are referred to as clearance limits. A clearance limit is like a green light that only lets you drive to the next intersection. You're allowed to go that far, but you're not allowed to go past it, unless you get another green light, in this case by the air traffic controller. So we've now been greenlit to continue via Dunkettle and stop at the red light in Cargo Line, waiting for the next clearance. En route to Cargo Line, we get told to settle to the circuit for runway 34, which is practically a rounded rectangular shape extending from each side of the runway, which can be seen as roads or highways combined with on-ramps and off-ramps, which we pilots use to join and land at an airport while staying clear of other planes. Arriving in Cork, we park, shut down, secure the plane, and submit all relevant documentation of the aircraft to operations, and wait for the replacement aircraft to arrive. This right here was my time to sit down, review the weather en route, and make a new plan to head back to Waterford. We hop into the new plane, perform the pre-flight check and power checks, and are ready to depart. On our takeoff clearance, we received the following instruction. After departure, route to Dunkettle, not above 2,000 feet in the zone. Once again, a clearance limit. We depart, head towards Dunkettle, which is just to the east of Cork City, and as instructed, not above 2,000 feet. While we head towards Dunkettle, I realize there's some major clouds overhead, and because we're operating a visual flight, we're prohibited from flying through these clouds. And here's where the plan changes once again. Circumnavigating weather in this situation can be either of two options. Either to the left, and then back on track towards Waterford, or a beeline straight towards the coastline and then back on track. Now, we have 10 hours of endurance on this aircraft, and I'm not worried about the distance or time it takes to circumnavigate this. What's far more important is something only a pilot who carefully reviewed all charts before the flight would be able to take into consideration when making this next decision. See, what I know, and you might not, is that a couple miles behind these clouds there's rising terrain, and even further there's mountains up to 2,600 feet. Now if we went left and back on track, this will put us in a situation where we risk getting pushed down by clouds into terrain. Or if we manage to head back on track after our left turn, eventually risk being stuck in an alley between clouds and terrain, which would slowly sandwich us between the two. And because I reviewed all the charts and the notable terrain for this flight, I knew avoiding this weather to the right towards the coastline is the best course of action. So with that said, we made our way to Waterford. Not a super eventful day, but hopefully this helps some of you future student pilots or current pilots shift your mindset when planning your flights and making critical decisions. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe as it supports the channel. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Take care.